Alright, Select Car guys, so here's the track I have set up. It's roughly 20 feet long plus a little extension on the back to accommodate that curve. The table is 20 feet long by about 8 feet, 7.5 or 8 feet. Track itself is about 130 feet long, and I've got it set up to run digital or analog. So I wanted to discuss that a little bit because there are some questions about what works when you do a conversion to run an analog control track or start track on your digital track. And if you look at the schematics that I uploaded, that'll be in this video also, I'll point out a couple things on how it is actually tied together. Basically, I have a power supply that feeds the digital start track. Power comes in here just like normal. The difference is the power is split from here, goes over to this set of switches. That way I can turn off the digital portion of the track. Then once that's shut off, that same power gets diverted to power this up, just as if you plugged in a power supply to it. So basically I'm using the power from here to run this. And you'll see the schematics that I've loaded up, and I'll put in this video that's how that works. The power runs from here to here, split off here, go back to here or to here, depending on what you want to do. So currently, the digital system is all working. We're going to go ahead and pull this car off the track if I don't wreck it. Get rid of him. And you'll see that the track is just normal digital track. The switches, I can pull it a pit, I can fuel, I just hit a dead spot. All the things that digital will do. If I take one of these analog cars and put it on the digital track, no matter which lane, it's going to try to take off down the track. But we don't want to do that. So now, by turning off digital power, I can set that car on the track. Nothing happens, right? You'll notice that the lights quit charging. So that because the power on the digital side of the track that feeds that on that power track doesn't have digital power. The only two ports that have digital power, the way I set this up, are the ports on the start track. And that will control the tower, the position tower, which won't work with analog cars. If you have your sets of chargers, if you got two sets of chargers, 4 chargers, handles or whatever, charge ports, you can have your charge ports on the same track and it will continue to charge. But down there they don't. None of the lane changes work. Pit doesn't work. It's just analog. And to turn the analog side on, now I'm going to divert the power. So now my analog is on. So if I grab the correct controller and I don't wreck the car, so analog, and I'll throw another car on there. Show the other lane. And I wrecked, but that's okay. We'll go back to this guy, put him on the outer lane. He seems to hold the track better. It's got some good tires on it. So the nice thing about this is I have digital cars, and if I want to race, if somebody brings an analog car over and they want to race their cars, I can switch the track to analog. But I could also take my digital car, which we just saw this one on the track. I set it on the track, and the way Carrera works, they automatically switch to analog by depressing the controller a couple times. And there, now that car is analog. Now you might have to change the polarity switch on the bottom of your car to make it work. If the lights don't flash, then the car's facing the wrong way and you have to change the polarity switch. But it automatically goes to analog. So I can do this one too. So here, I haven't done anything with this. A couple times, lights come on, and there it goes. So now that car's analog. So, like I said, if somebody comes over, wants to race an analog car, they don't have a digital car, we can race analog cars. I can take this same digital car, put it on the track, I can run it. I mean, that's the analog car that I just, but I can't switch lanes, I can just go around the track, and I can crash. Or I can run the other car. But it doesn't matter which car, they're not programmed to the track, right? No matter what lane you put it on, it's whatever controller it is for analog. You've got two choices, just like an Evolution track. So if I take that car and put it on the other lane, just like an Evolution track. Things that you have to think about in order to prep your track for this type of system is that if you have any of the curve switches, which I don't have, the curve switches have a jumper in them, and you have to remove that jumper. The second thing is that any of your power taps that go from one part of the track to the other have to be just like Evolution. They have to be per lane, per sets of rails. So with digital track, it doesn't really have inner lane, outer lane, because you can change wherever you drive. On the digital side, you can go into the other side. So for me, I don't call it inner lane or outer lane except during the start track. But on digital, or on the analog side, you're stuck to those lanes unless you have a crossover track. And if you do have a crossover track, the manual kind, X track, whatever you want to call it, you have to have two, because if you don't, your car is going to quit running when it goes into the other lane, or it will tie both lanes together and it'll cause issues. And then you don't need that. So if you're going to use the X tracks, the manual X tracks, then you have to run two, and that's it. You can go from digital to analog. Now to go back, I'll turn off analog, turn on digital. My hand regulators start charging again. The cars that were analog, they just switched to analog by themselves when I put them on there. Now they'll switch back to digital. So you set it on the track, it'll go for a second, and then it'll switch back. And now it's back to digital. So if I grab my digital controller, I'm back to changing lanes and racing cars and doing all those things you do, pulling into the pit and fueling up and all that stuff. So that's it. That's how it works. It's a pretty inexpensive build to do this. Literally takes two $7 switches. Going to convert your Evolution to digital, then you can use that and then do the split using the wiring diagram. Works pretty well. I have no problem with it. All right, anyway, that's it. I hope that answers any questions you have regarding the way the track works.